Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Kings of the Storm Weekly number 12, the last February qualifier. We're going to be jumping into Magikarp up against Synapsis, two new, and I say that with quotation marks, teams, because these guys have definitely some of the names that have permeated the scene since the beginning. I've seen a lot of these guys in the Hero League as well, some of them in the amateur leagues that have been popping up over the last few weeks. So I say new, but we can definitely expect some good games. As a note, we are still in the quarterfinals. This was the extra runoff game because it was a 9-team bracket. So it is the result of Magikarp beating out Risky Biscuits and the Runny Gravy Hoss, which is a fantastic name for an amateur team. And that's why we're once again here in a best-of-1 scenario.
Yep, and straight away we're seeing the Zebo band. He wasn't picked at all last game, although it would have been really strong on either side. So they're getting rid of that one. Obviously one of the strongest damage dealers right now. And Magikarp, this is where they're in a bit of a predicament. They need to leave the healers open. They ban ETC. This leaves Illidan open. It leaves Rhaegar Uther open as two top tier healers. But it gets rid of that tier 1 tank, so we may even see a Stitches picked up early here. And it also leaves both high damage dealers open in Valor and Hammer.
Now that this is how I kind of approach what we do here in NA. If you don't ban out either the Illidan or the Sergeant Hammer, we typically see teams kind of polarizing around one or the other. It's very common. And sometimes it won't happen. Sometimes it's not in the cards. The picks didn't happen. But those are usually the first two things that you're going to come to mind here in NA.
So, what is going to be picked up first? Again, you either go Valor Hammer or Illidan or Rhaegar, I think, here. I don't see Uther as first pick material.
It's definitely been more of a support meta this last patch. Everybody's clamoring to get the triple supports in some instances that we have seen. The famous Tempo Storm finals up against 3D Max, triple support, right? Yeah. And I've seen it here as well. Believe it or not, the Go4Heroes NA that same night on the NA side of things was a triple support finals. So it definitely is a little bit more that heavy. As an Uther first pick, perhaps not. As a regular first pick, sure, I'd totally go for that.
But it's Stitches. This was something that I also had in the back of my mind here because they've got rid of ETC. So who else do you run as a solo tank here for Magikarp? Who do they have on the table? They've got Tyrael. Muradin is slowly going out of favor. Diablo, but as a solo tank. So it really now sets Magikarp to maybe pick up a double tank in something maybe like a Nubarak Tyrael, or something along those lines. But they
Tyrael?
Who was
I haven't seen a Tyrael in forever, sir.
There was a team I saw in EU the other day run Tyrael and Nubarak together and try and go for that double tank. But this leaves Magikarp with a really strong pick should they go for it. But they lose 2 range. They could go Illidan Rhaegar, but they lose Hammer and or Valor from it. So they now need to realize or think about which is the best trade-off. Do they pick 2 range DPS and give up Illidan? Or do they take Illidan Rhaegar? They've got Rhaegar, which should signify an Illidan pick here. I don't want to be wrong.
You're allowed to be wrong, sir. You can't predict the future. You can make a strong case and argument that is the basis of science and hypotheses, but you're allowed to be wrong. I won't be the viewers might, I won't. Personally, you're good.
So it's going to be a damage dealer. It's going to be Illidan, Valor, or Hammer. It has to be one of those 3. It has to be.
So, as you said, with the ETC out, the Stitches first pick, this was the map that Stitches kind of entered the meta, at least here on the NA side of things. There's so many places for the hooks. There's so many places that you can just create this advantage by trapping them between the environments. As we saw, last round, the horseshoes, the little areas in the trees, we saw some pretty cheeky hooks there. So, again, that's a really good set of pressure. I do see that the Hammer is now going to be picked up, so Magikarp going to be setting themselves up for Protect the Hammer. And it really does warm my heart that the Hammer is like the thing now. I dread next patch when she gets nerfed, because it's going to happen. But, I've been a Master Hammer main for forever. She's the most played. She's my highest win rate. I'm top 10 on I think Hot Slugs and Hero GG for win rates on it. She's absolutely a fantastic pick. And, we'll have to see. If Synapsis can't take the supports away, this could be a nice setup.
Yeah. My theory for Synapsis rotation there was maybe something like take the Illidan away and give Illidan some support, maybe in a Tassadar or an Uther. But instead they bypass that straight and go Tyrande Jaina. Jaina's coming back into fashion a lot more.
But I don't like it.
Nor do I.
I mean, the picks here from Synapsis are both very anti-hammer picks. The Tyrande stun with the Lunar Flare, the range and the slows, and the extra amount of crit that you can get from a Jaina. A Jaina can absolutely 1v1 a hammer with correct placements of all her stuff. The problem is she's absolutely fragile. Absolutely 100%. Anything jumps on her and she just crumbles.
And here it is, the solo tank that Magikarp have to go for is Diablo. Because there's nothing else left on the board.
What happened to the days of Mirrodin, sir? What happened to the...
I honestly don't know. I feel like Mirrodin's obviously fallen out because Rewind hit him pretty hard. He relied on that so much. Because you could either use it offensively for double stun or jump in, jump straight back out. But I think as we see Mirrodin decline even more, I think Tyrael will actually rise back up. Of course, he lost Cast Aside, but even so, he just brings so much utility to the tank role and so much damage as well. And I'd really, honestly want to see an Illidan here from Magikarp because they have the Rhaegar to support it, they have the Diablo to CC, and if you have an Illidan hammering so far forward in the team, Hammer's just there at the back, just more or less untouched. Synapsis have to split their focus. They'd have to go really deep for Hammer or pill so heavily for the Illidan. And Illidan into Jaina is not escaping that. I just want to see this Illidan here. What else could they go for? They could go for a second support in Malfurion and take away a main healer, but again, Synapsis still have Uther open. They could go Tassadar here, to give Hammer a bit more support, give some more shielding to the Diablo. Zeratul could even work here. If one of your teammates gets hooked, just use the VP. They're going to go Tychus. Okay.
Not something that either of us were really thinking there.
Yeah.
But, the Tychus we've been seeing, once again, more and more. Believe it or not, I've actually been seeing Falstead, these last 2 weeks in some of the amateur leagues, some of the Go4Heroes. But, sometimes it just takes a little bit to readjust to the new skill sets. And now we're seeing more and more the return of the ranged assassins. So Tychus and Sergeant Hammer back end. I mean, we're almost guaranteed that last slot to be, I want to say an Uther or a Mouth, but because it's just going to be that Diablo solo. Yeah. Now, Synapsis on the flip side, though, they kind of need a little bit more damage. They actually do need to pick up one of those two, the Uther or the Mouth, but they could easily go double tank in this scenario, I think.
Yeah, the options there. They could go for the Mirrodin, Arthas, and Nubrak, less so Arthas. Chen is something that's being played a lot in EU right now.
Yeah, the Wandering Keg.
Yep. Which could, in theory, work because you're just going to jump straight onto that hammer, get behind the hammer, and just roll her into your team.
Or can a Wandering Keg actually displace a Diablo? I know it won't stop the Lightning Breath, but could he actually knock him away?
I assume no. If Emerald Wind doesn't, then I guess Wandering Keg doesn't.
It's a good thing. That would be actually an interesting thing to look at. The Malfurion does actually get stolen out here, so will be a Chen. Chen at level 16 can still get combination attack, which is some decent late game chase burst. And at the same time, you jump into the back. Tychus won't have really too many escapes, neither with the hammer, neither with the fight dog. Diablo, of course, doesn't have any at all. I don't expect to see one, though.
I know I'm focused on this Illidan here, but I guess the reason Magikarp haven't picked it is because of the threat of Hunter's Mark. If you get Hunter's Mark on the Illidan, he will just pop so quickly with Jaina. That would be my assumption here.
Could they go Valor?
Wow, Valor's still open, yeah. Valor's still... Valor is 9th pick in a draft. I never really seen that one before. Like, Jaina picked over Valor?
As I said, Jaina was like a knee-jerk reaction to the Sergeant Hammer, I feel. It's also like she does some really good AoE, the Water Elemental by the end of it all, or the Ring of Frost for something. Yeah. No, it's probably going to be Water Elemental in this case. There's no kind of big wombo to follow that up except Starfall. But, Zagara for the last pick up here. It's not going to be anything that we were thinking. It is a really damage-heavy lineup coming out from Magikarp, though.
Yeah, they've got a lot of push potential here with Hammer and Zagara. They've got some AoE in there with the more into Lightning Breath and Odin damage and Hammer Splash damage. There's a lot of potential in their team fight comp as well as their push-in. So they have a pretty strong early game, they have a strong mid game, and their late game team fights, just looking at this draft alone, look stronger than Synapsis. I'm looking forward to see how this one plays out. Of course, though, Synapsis, they have this double healing ward. Should they go for it, or they could go for a shield, but I feel
almost
like
guaranteed that they'll go for it.
Healing ward. I usually see Tyrande run protective shield if you're running triple healer, or 2 main healers, then Tyrande is a sub healer / damage dealer.
Right.
Yeah, this Jaina pick, I'm curious as to how that's going to work. Of course, the early game she's really squishy. If she gets picked by anyone, she's more or less dead. And they don't really have much peel for her either. It's just Stitches, Tyrande.
We don't really have any kind of big pick tools available, though, to Magikarp. It's going to be either like a grenade into an overkill or a shadow charge. That's pretty much it. Either way, countdown has begun. The match is going to be underway. We're going once again to Cursed Hollow, the map of the Stitches once upon a time, and our second Cursed Hollow of the night here in Kings of the Storm weekly number 12. Forecourt Haas going to be bringing you the action. And I feel like, Synapsis, we talk about this Jaina. How well will this Jaina perform? If Jaina can output the damage, she gets off the CC at the right points, absolutely they have a great chance against Magikarp. But she gets picked, just like what we saw with that late game Malfurion in our last round. Well, you're going to start melting, and that's going to be a detriment to your team.
Yep, definitely so. And I know I'm just really curious about the Jaina pick. It was being picked so early as well that it's not really been counted either. So yeah. Why don't you go ahead and introduce the teams here, Forecourt?
All right, sounds good. On your left-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, it will be the team from Pokemon. Maybe, he was caught out by Ash Ketchum, got away. Either way, he's here to play in the Heroes of the Storm. Herdrig, Yuki, Suki, Proteges, and Hawk Fu. This is Team Magikarp. They're going to be putting their best foot forward here for this best of one.
On the right-hand side, we have Synapsis. Is it not the other way around?
I got Synapsis on the left for me. I got Magikarp on blue. Is that wrong?
Yeah, didn't Synapsis pick Jaina? I think Synapsis picked Jaina.
I think Suki lied to me. He said he was Magikarp.
Synapsis picked Jaina.
I don't actually know.
Yeah, Synapsis picked Jaina. So on the left is Synapsis, on the right is Magikarp. Honeydip, TN2389, Contank, Lark Daddy in the mid lane, and up top we have Extorn on Zagara. And we've actually got 2-man gang coming in top. They're actually going to stun and get a lot of damage down, and Zagara will fall early. And that's a solid XP lead now for Synapsis.
All right, I fixed it then. On the left-hand side is Synapsis. Magikarp is on the red production value thing. Yeah. Good time. That was a nice kill, though. That was a nice first blood. And looks like we're not going to have static lanes today. We are going to have this bit more of a roaming between the Jaina and the Tyrande. That's actually a really nice early game roam.
Yeah, they've already made it worth their while. They've got a solid XP lead. And, of course, denying Zagara that map pressure that she could get early is so good here for Synapsis. We can already see that Zagara's pushed against the tower, and Stitches is going for a solo tank build here, so no slam coming out from him.
Zagara actually took Reconstitution at the level 1 talent here. Not Roach, Roach reduction damage. It's not Demolitionist. It is literally extra health regeneration. So, I mean, overall, in the long run, that will be great for her sustainability, and she is up against that Stitches, but it's less...
Rhaegar in the bot lane.
There he goes. Absolutely melts. Absolutely melts. Hawk Fu came into the side and solidified that. Magikarp is not evolving at this rate. My goodness.
No, there will be no scary Gyarados at like 15 minutes at this rate. But yeah, going back to the Zagara talent, Reconstitution is actually something we see a lot more on EU than we do in NA. NA has, you tend to go for Demolitionist. I've seen more so on Zagaras, but we go for kind of lane pressure and lane presence and being able to just stand there and keep on pushing, keep your health sustained up. And against the Stitches, it's not too bad because he's going to be slamming, you're going to be more or less on full HP most of the time. And right now, Zagara hasn't really got close enough to the tower to try and get that Demolitionist talent to work should they have gone for it. But Tribute has spawned, and Hokfu has to get healed up before they can test this one.
Yeah, we do got the Rome Comp now coming down. TN2389 a little bit too far forward. And Lark Daddy, however, he's going to get that overpower on top of Yuki. Immediately, though, just the turnaround, the heals coming out, and the burst damage from this early game. Jaina is really starting to show off why they decided to pick her up as early as they did. I thought it was going to be a knee-jerk reaction against the Sergeant Hammer, but this Rome Comp is absolutely crazy. The stun, Hunter's Mark, and the triple spell burst from Jaina has solidified 4 kills now for the team.
And on the biggest map there is. It's the map where you more than likely 80% of the time see this static lane setup, but they're actually roaming across so much ground and they're making it work. Doesn't matter they're losing XP, and this is another free kill.
That was such a good prediction from Suki.
Yeah.
She's just like, that's a Tychus. He's immediately going to run and gun right into my stun. Oh, it was beautiful.
You had best hurry.
Yeah, and this double healing ward, we saw it at that first tribute there for Synapsis. It's working out for them. They were able to sustain the damage of Hammer, allowed Valor to get some room and get out of there, and they're just happy to let Hammer fire away and nullify all the damage.
Absolutely. We're gonna take a quick look at Jaina after this, but Suki a little bit too far forward. That could be finally the first death going their way, but healing wards are doing a really good job. Even Hokfu, however, cannot save that damage. Look at the double healing ward. If only they stacked.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Something that I was about to mention that annoys me.
Yeah, that they don't stack. Yeah. Second storms on Taskstars, they also don't stack. Oh, Jaina apparently got caught in their head as well.
Caught by Dablo.
All right, but that's still the second tribute now in their pocket, and right now Synapsis is still in a good spot for an early curse. Let's take a quick look at Jaina, if you will. Deep Chill going in for the extra slow, Envenom for the extra burst, and then Frostbitten for the extra damage on top of that. 2 of our 3 talents have gone right to her combat trait.
Yeah, and it just increases that bit of damage that she outputs initially. And it's worked. This is all about a burst comp. Once you get that lockdown from the Tyrande, or you just open up with the slow of Jaina so that makes the Tyrande stun easier, then it's more or less a guaranteed kill. And they really aren't getting away from those 2.
Absolutely not. Level 10 hype is about to be achieved. And it's going to be a very small window here for Synapsis to kind of hold that over their opponents. In fact, it's pretty much a non-existent window. It does look like Rain of Vengeance is going to be the Vala pick here, so they are going to look for a little bit more lockup. But the Starfall, the Water Elemental, now very likely to Trank, and I want to say it's going to be Hook from the Stitches. It's not really that much melee to deal with.
Yeah, it should be Gorge coming out from these guys.
Sorry.
It is. Yeah.
I said Hook, I meant.
Yeah. But they've got the curse here, Magikarps. So they're just going to go straight towards mid lane and push this one. Zagara right now can't really do much, although there's a potential for a more. Can he get it? There it is, 2-man more. Really nice setup already from the red team.
Is there a follow-up? It's going to be the Apocalypse. And that's going to be a great double kill on the squishy damage dealers here from Synapsis. Now it's going to be Protege off to the side. He got that Tranquility, and the regrowth now ticking away. And unfortunately, we just don't have anything really to burn that down. But still, that's a nice wombo coming out from the Magikarp. So they get some damage now on the board, a few kills to counter that early game roam. And despite the fact that they lost like 4 kills super early and it's a curse, they're actually doing all right on the experience.
Yeah, they really are. That fight from them there really pulled it back in their favor. That's the setup they were wanting. I didn't expect the Apocalypse, but now I think about it, it does make sense. They could have gone for the increased damage from Lightning Breath, but instead the Apocalypse just means that as soon as they come out of that more, just they're stunned up for longer, and there's so much damage going down onto them from the Odin and from Hammer. Now Magikarps, they're going to go take their boss now, while the red side take their top bruiser camp.
The bruisers for a boss, but it is, the end of the curse. Was there any? There's not even any fourth deaths. I mean,
no,
Synapsis...
it was mid wall. I think bot wall was already down and top wall was already down from the Stitches pushing.
For a curse, Magikarp could have suffered a lot more than that.
Yes. Yes, they could.
And I think that a lot of it goes back to that double kill. I mean, as soon as that curse went off, we had the 2-man maul, we had that Apocalypse Wombo, and without those damage dealers, a 3v5, despite having the curse, it's just not in the cards for Synapsis. And, you know, they reset the counter at 0-0. There's not going to be a curse tribute for a little bit, but I don't know. This was a little bit too risky, I think. Synapsis Suki is actually now going to be caught off way to the side. There was no Apocalypse Wombo because the Apocalypse just isn't up. So that's a little unfortunate right there. And now I'm not entirely too sure Magikarp knows what their next step is.
Diablo needs to... Oh, he needed to Apocalypse. He actually able to get it off, but they can't follow up on this. Now Kontang is isolated, gets taken down by Suki. And this was one of the problems about going for your Bruiser Camp before you go for your boss. Once you take that Bruiser Camp, your enemy knows exactly where you are, and 9 times out of 10, they know you're going to go for boss as well. And it was a great rotation that came in from the blue side. They were able to get the trade in their favor, 2 kills. And they're still looking for this boss. Diablo tried his best.
Wow! Lark Daddy with that steal, #1 steal, and a Ice Block comes out from Protege. Yuki not looking so hot. This entire team has been battered by now 2 team fights and the boss itself. It's going to be the end of Stitches, and now Synapsis has to deal with this top pressure. On top of it, all that effort literally just resulted in a Diablo kill and a Tychus, but they lost the Stitches and they lost the boss. So I don't think they really came out ahead in that trade.
And they're going to lose mid and top walls here. They've got 2 pushing mid. In fact, Hammer's got the bot fort, going to get the bot tower as well and fall back from that one. And
where did Valor just died? Mid.
Yeah, Valor overextended a little bit in mid there, I assume. Tyrande trying to follow up here on Tychus, but she can't solo anything. She's going for a support style build rather than the straight up DPS, which is a interesting build. I'll leave that one for another day.
Lunar Blaze, man. Lunar Blaze and owls for days.
There's a certain Tyrande build you can go where you can burst an Arthas in less than 2 seconds.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds like one of those like sidebar ads on websites. Like, one weird trick to lose 300 pounds. One strange Tyrande build, burst down Arthas in 2 seconds. Like, I don't know, man. That sounds fishy.
SK Bakery Theory crafted it one night. It was about 3 o'clock. We were sitting on TeamSpeak. He was like, Tyrande's being played a lot. Let's see if there's a different build. And so went into a custom game and just bursted an Arthas. Like it wasn't a biggie. Wow. So yeah, first to hit 16 is the Pokemon. They're slowly evolving, splashing their way up there. There's some pretty standard talents, I want to say. Stone Skin, yeah, pretty standard everywhere. Rhaegar not going for blood this time. He has enough damage for the rest of his team. But Hogfu getting caught up. Rain Avenger's come down there. Very nice one. And Starfall.
Absolutely, and that combo, that really turned it around. We kind of wrote off Vala a little bit too quickly there, I think. Suki, however, looking, well, Suki and Yuki will be the last shot there from the Hover Siege in the back from Tien. But overall, it will be that 1-for-1 trade. That Rain of Vengeance was pretty money. That stunned the entire offensive line from the Magikarp, but that wasn't over a Tribute. That was literally just a team fight. Tribute's now actually going to be spawning. They're down a DPS, but at the same time, we're down the healer here for Magikarp, and it doesn't actually look like it's going to be a target here. Synapsis going to be nurturing the Stone Bros in the top. They actually now are going to finish off this top court. They get themselves 16 on the back of that as well, but it's putting them in a little bit of a pickle. Next Tribute could be a curse against them. So they're basically forcing their hand here.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty nice choice from Synapsis there. They were able to get that top fort for free and rotate bot in time to lose nothing. And they still have the 2 Siege Giants up top providing some pressure. Boss, though, it's up in 20 seconds. That Owl is not going to spot anything. And Lark Daddy's just going to fall back from this one. They want nothing to do with this fight right now. They are 4v5.
Oh, the fishing hook. So good.
And we were actually wrong. Stitches went Putrid Bile.
Yeah, I just saw that as well. I'm a little disappointed at that choice, but I mean, c'est la vie. Yuki is going to actually now try to sprint into the back. The Maw does not hit anything. Here comes that Putrid Bile. The green carpet is laid. That's going to be a stun. The Water Elemental actually is going to be hitting the Sergeant Hammer. Lark Daddy does finally get hooked out. Hawkfu with that last heal will survive the onslaught. Tank is a little bit far from his team. He's getting converged upon. There comes the Blizzard. That was the stun on top of it as well, and he will drop, which means it's not going to be a curse coming out for Magikarp as they drop 2-0 in that last fight. It will be putting a point on the board and probably the boss for Synapsis.
So, Apocalypse Diablo suffers the same problem that Bloodlust Rhaegar does, and that is, once it's on cooldown, you cannot team fight for 2 minutes. You cannot touch your opponent. And we saw it there. The Maw came down. Yes, it didn't hit anyone, but it forced Synapsis to split. There were 2 in front of it and 3 at the back. If Apocalypse was up, that was at least a 3-man stun coming out from Diablo, but it just wasn't. It's such a long cooldown, and you really need to pick your fights well, and that just wasn't one that the red side wanted.
Absolutely. Now, one thing that I do actually want to point out is I'm a big fan of Rhaegar. You talked a little bit about earlier, you know, how to spot out those master Rhaegars. I mean, I just look at the master skin myself. That's what I have personally. But Healing Surge coming out at level 13. Now, it has been something of a proven statistic that statistically, Rhaegar solo healing in some of these higher competitive games does not work out whatsoever. Yeah. And they're, you know, right now, Magikarp is really trying to make it work, but they don't have the Feral Lunge, they don't have that extra burst. It is the Healing Surge, which is more heals. So he's desperately trying to match the sustain that the other team has. And in terms of the healing numbers, he's doing pretty good. 26k to his name. It does fall short a little bit here from the Malfurion, but that's kind of expected. But either way, Honey Dip, he's kind of the linchpin here. If he goes down early in some of these fights, I mean, that's it for Magikarp.
Yep, and speaking of these fights, Stitch is looking for a fishing hook. Not going to find one. There's a perfect one there onto Zagara or Rhaegar, but them roaches getting in the way.
The roach is getting in the way. We're actually now going to set up here. That's going to be the stun. Only hits really the Stitches, but it's enough. Stitches gets off a little bit of bio in the end. A good Ancestral there on top of X-Storm. The Odin is moving forward. The Hover Seed is also moving forward. The Healing Ward doing some good work there for the Lark Daddy, but the range is all being negated by that Tranquility. We're healing up Suki, we're healing up Yuki. Everyone's basically full health on both sides even, but Hawk through. Shadow Charge into a slam, into not only the Hydralisk, but the mines as well, and that is going to be it for her. Yuki, sliver of health, will live, however, but still, Lark Daddy, he's seeing red, he's looking for blood. Now, all right, he's calmed down, the steroids is worn off, and it will now be the curse, going the way of Magikarp and the boss.
So again in there, the Maw didn't hit anyone, but it isolated the Stitches. It meant that Stitches was split from the rest of his team, and they were just able to focus him down so quickly and burst him. And they ended up winning the fight because of it. Once that Stitches was gone, then Synapsis had to be fully defensive. They couldn't step any more forward, they just had to keep kiting their way back. They were able to do some of it, but Violet ended up getting dropped. That was a really nice knockback into the mines. Really smart play for Diablo there.
Rip the mines build of old. Has been pretty much just giant killer for that tier since the patch came out.
Not quite mines. They were horrible.
They were awesome. What do you mean?
As like
Sergeant Hammer main.
As in like previous Uther main that tried sprinting into a hammer.
Yeah,
it was essentially pinball.
Yep.
Yeah.
Level 16 for Tyrande is actually going to be Shooting Star. Lunar Flare deals 50% more damage if you hit an enemy. That's an interesting. Well, the mana shouldn't really be too much of an issue at this point, especially with the Malfurion on the team. But at the same time, yeah, sure, gets some mana back. But you know, owls. Where's the 200% owl burst? Does the Shooting Star extra damage actually negate out owl burst?
I guess it's for more lockup in the more damage in the team fights, because you've got that increased size and that increased range. You can really get onto the hammer and just increase the burst of the hammer, because right now that's dealing a lot of damage. In fact, whereas to run down the map, she's mid. So that E right now is doing 648 increased by 50%. I think that's right, or does it show the increased?
I can't imagine it does 648 against creeps.
Yeah.
I think the mana refund is only if it hits target.
Yeah, the
but
mana refund.
It's not a town I've really seen too much. So it does 50% more damage and refunds all mana if you hit an enemy hero. I don't know if those are links. I could look at the game files later, but
just imagine something like Hunter's Mark stun onto Diablo. That's a lot of burst already onto the tank, and he's going to be at the front line, so it just increases peel. Imagine that onto the hammer. You're doing a good quarter of hammer's health right there.
Yeah, 600 damage is some really good burst.
Beaky-like. They're going to go for it.
Yeah, Dark Daddy, decent stun spread right there. That's going to be it for Haku. The Maw goes down as well, takes Suki under, and now Suki is going to be the return kill. We do got the Starfall and the Water Elemental, but unfortunately, it is not able to out-TPS that Healing Ward. Now Dark Daddy is going to try to solidify this front line slow so that we can actually pick up on a few more kills. Unfortunately, looks like the disengage is too strong, and Synapsis will be able to get out of that one. But this will leave their boss open, and Magikarp saying, yay.
Yep, they're going to grab this boss. They're also going to get the tribute. Doesn't really mean much right now. It just adds a point on their board. But the boss, that's the important thing here. It's going to go pushing straight down bot lane. And with the keep more or less already open, they're 100% going to get the tower. They could go and push for it, especially with Zagara, Hammer, and of course Tychus in there. So much damage is going to go down to these structures.
Yeah, absolutely. It might not be a curse, but when you're down your DPS and a semi-DPS slash heals, I mean, Yuki, if she gets caught out of this, I mean, that's really it for her. And this is, once again, just some of the problems that we see with Jaina. That early game roam stuff was so good, but this late game is starting to fall flat.
Yeah, it is, as Slam just going to take down the keep there. They get the stun onto Hammer, but there's no follow-up here. Suki learning the skill shot, but this is the problem when you just have a Stitches. You can't just run at the enemy team. You have to be calculated, you have to peel, and you have to just make sure your carries stay alive. Looks like mid-fort may fall as well here. Oh no, they're just going to back and get this second tribute for them and take away the easy camp.
Well, boss is going to be just harmlessly attacking the core. We do got another tribute now up. Good positioning coming out here for Magikarp as well. They are literally just setting up. Unfortunately, it looks like X-Storm has a Water Elemental chasing after her. It's not going to be a kill, but it is actually sounding the retreat here for Magikarp. So it looks like they're just going to let it go. It's not a curse. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And still, I mean, coming into this, it's almost 20 minutes in. We do have level 20s now on the board, and you can take a quick gander there. But one more bad team fight, one more 2-0, 3-0 fight going for Magikarp. That's an open core, and that could be the game.
Yeah, it really could be. And now, with that Apocalypse Dying Breath talent on Diablo, it means that he's getting an Apocalypse off on the team fight no matter what, really. And something which I've seen quite a few Diablo players do is they die. The Apocalypse obviously casts, and then because of their trait, they cast it as soon as they spawn again, rather than in the middle of the fight, which is an interesting one because it then means that if the rest of your team are chasing those kills or they're running away, it just adds an extra bit of CC in there as well.
Yeah, you can effectively get almost three yeah. So you cast out your Apocalypse, and then you die, and it casts Apocalypse, and then you die again, and you get Apocalypse. You can literally get 3 of those in a team fight with, depending on where on the map it is. And it's not something we really see a lot of. Not really. It's an interesting idea, but, I mean, it also relies on the fact that you die.
Yeah. That you die a lot.
Yeah. You should probably never build around dying.
Tell that to Tyrael and Uther.
This boss, it's going to get a tower, so that's a little bit more XP in the favor of the boss right now. Levels, they don't really matter with even odd talents, and, well, it's like, what, 5% difference in levels between the two right now. It's no biggie. Red team of Magikarps, they are pinging for the easy camp, and this would be a good choice right now, but it looks like they just want to push mid, although Rhaegar has other ideas.
I mean, Rhaegar could solo it, but it's not going to be the fastest creep.
Especially with no Feral Lunge.
Yeah, well, I mean, you still get the extra 100% damage. He still also has the hearts. I mean, he's not going to die to it, but without the Feral Lunge, I really do like Feral Lunge in my games.
So do I.
Absolutely. It's just such nice extra burst, but as I said, he's the solo hero this time. You can't really afford to go more offensive, and they got a Zagara, they got a Sergeant Hammer, they got a Tychus. That should be it for the damage. Anything past that, if they can't make this work, I don't think Feral Lunge would have mattered anyways.
Yeah, with a Rhaegar, usually either run a second support or a semi-support, or maybe something like a Tassadar just to increase the spread of support that you have for your team. Like you heal one, you shield the other, and so on and so forth. And this tribute could end the game in theory, but that hook is a great one.
Yeah, the hook leads into the Apocalypse, does actually hit out Protege's Lark Daddy down to half hit points though. Here comes the Tranquility, the burst on top of Lark is not going to be enough. The Ancestral will keep the Lord of Terror going. His mines are actually going to be chasing down Hurt and Suki. Lark Daddy looking for the kill on top of Hawkfu. Protege's is forced into the ice block, but Suki not going to be living out of that one. There goes Malfurion as well, and Hawkfu with the Napalm Strike is going to go down, and that's a 3-for-0 trade as Magikarp has finally shown us his final form, and this should be a game-ending push.
Zagara taking the tribute, the rest of his team gonna go for the end here through the bot lane. Stitches gets the hook onto Tychus. Lark Daddy though engaging off of it. You've got to think that this right now is the end. 23 minutes in. Blue side of Synapsis, they are cursed. It's just going to be straight up core damage here. Jane and Stitches cannot defend this. They're going to get a hook on Honey Dip. That's just flashy plays now.
Oh, Yuki sprinted right into a charge. It's like getting clotheslined by a wrestler. And red team, good game, well played. A little bit shaky early. We saw some really fantastic Tyrande and Jaina roam early on as well. But it will be Magikarp moving on to the semifinals here, Kings of the Storm Weekly number 12.
And they now move on to face ESV Wildfire, who we covered before. It's going to be a best of 3. And it's going to be an interesting one because I was personally caught off by this Tyrande Jaina draft, and rightly so. Rhaegar, Diablo, Hammer, Zagara, Tychus going in strong, really solid from them. Although I feel like the Zagara pick, in theory it worked. It had some glimmers of hope, but it could have been a lot stronger. It could have been maybe something like an Illidan. Or maybe...
You were really harping looking for that Illidan.
Illidan. It would have worked so perfectly. Hopefully, like... hopefully they were listening to the draft and me semi-flaming them.
It wasn't that bad.
But yeah, they're going to face ESV Wildfire now, so it's going to be a close game, best of 3. Going to be a great showing.
It is ESV waiting for them? Yeah, you're quite right. So Magikarp and ESV, we are going to say goodbye to Synapsis. We don't have an update on Evil Geniuses and Tempest. I don't know if they're waiting for us or not, but either way, that will be a game, and winners will literally be one of these 4 as we go into the finals. But the next set is going to be best of 3, so guys, you can dig in a little bit, get some popcorn, because with a best of 3 scenario, of course, you have a little bit more of a chance to correct mistakes and go on forward with it. When we return, will be game 1 here of the semis. FourCourtJester and Haas will return, and we'll see you guys in a few.